Hey everybody, I'm a little late. I'm supposed to be on a lot earlier, but I got a little sidetracked at Walmart today. I was out with Maritza back in home, like for lunch and stuff. We eat a breakfast around I think it's like noonish, yeah, around noon. We go to a place called Adobe Springs Cafe, and we have awesome food, awesome, incredible. I've written about it or talked about it before. Pancakes, amazing, amazing pancakes. The best I think ever. And I used to go to a place called Pancake House, the original Pancake House. It was in Anaheim in California, and they were supposedly the best pancakes. But Adobe Springs Cafe, they have the best pancakes. And I'm having a bowl of fruit. See, a bowl of fruit. I've got grapefruit, pomelo. I've got oranges, cut up some strawberries, and some mango. Isn't that awesome? Yep, I've got mango. So it's going to be a tasty treat at this hour. Probably shouldn't be eating fruit right now, but hey, why not? So anyway, I got back and ended up buying a bunch of odds and ends that I needed. Like I needed to get some new socks. I needed to get some new personal items and some hair stuff. I got what was it? Oh, I got fruit. Yeah, I got mangoes. I got two different kinds of mangoes. I got plantain chips. I got plantains. Oh, hey, Becky. I was thinking of a lot of places, but the reason I was doing this show was to ask people around to find out, if there's something I'm missing. Because I don't know, I could go anywhere. So I'm just thinking, what's a cool place? Oh, I know. Love me some mangoes. And the co-op in town has mangoes, but they're priced way too much. It's like $1.79 or something for a mango, and it's like, you're in Washington? Okay. Where in Washington? I hear Washington's gorgeous. I mean, Maritza and I went up there briefly. We ended up going to Mount St. Helens. That was really cool. Really like that. And there was this other place, some black gemstone or something. It was like this volcanic. Yeah. But these here at Walmart, because I went to Walmart, it's the only way you can get them cheaper. They were 68 cents. So mangoes are awesome. I mean, sometimes I have them for 50 cents. So Puyallup. Oh, okay. That was our next destination before we started to turn south and head back to California, we were going to go to Mount Rainier. They were actually doing this competition over at Mount St. Helens. It was like some kind of endurance run, or I can't quite remember what exactly it was, but it was something to do with like a 3 stages of some endurance competition, running or ultra marathoning or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, that is a beautiful, you live in a very beautiful state. Very beautiful state. Born in Tacoma at Madigan General Hospital. Oh, so you're a military brat. Okay. Is that like the Army? I love me some strawberries. Strawberries are really good. I saw that they were from Irvine, and I remember growing up really close to Irvine. It was like I don't know, 10 minutes from my house. And growing up in Southern California at that time in the 70s, late 70s, there were a lot of fruit orchards. There were lots of oranges. There were tons of strawberry fields. There was avocados. You know, California got really busy, and they ended up taking out a lot of those orchards and fruit fields and stuff like that for houses. McChord Air Force Base is now merged with the Army base. Okay. Yeah, so I had an offer to go up to Canada, actually, up to the province of British Columbia. And it's interesting, you know, I mean, it's a beautiful area, but then again, it's cold. Yeah, it's cold. So I'm not quite sure. It's like a nice area, but I'm not sold on it because I don't know if I want to be freezing again or more, actually, because it gets colder up there, totally. So I also thought about going back to Minnesota, which is a very real possibility, for multiple reasons. It's only 8 hours from Chicago, and 2 of my kids are going to school there. Oh, sorry to hear that. Yeah, I was I guess it's not too far from you, Vancouver, and you know, up in the Canadian Rockies and stuff. Not too far. I know. How far is it to Vancouver from where you're at? Minnesota's getting slammed with snow. Yes, it is. It can be. When I lived there, it wasn't nearly as bad, but for some reason now, it seems like it's like the ice age there, you know? It's like the ice age. So I don't know. I mean, I don't mind weather. So I'm just thinking about the options of what is out there. Like, I mean, moving to like Colorado or Utah or Oregon or Washington, right? Or I don't know, 3.5 hours. Okay. Have you been there? Have you been to Vancouver? So it looks like I'm going to try to stay here until July when the lease is up. I say if you're not sure, get a map. Nope. Never been up there. Whistler, you know, where they had the Olympics, they had in, was it 2010? I think it was 2010. Vancouver, Washington, not Canada. Oh, so there's two different Vancouvers. So you're saying that the Vancouver that you're talking about is Vancouver, Washington? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there are a lot of places that, you know, I'm probably going to do some more research, but there's a lot of places out there that would be a great fit for me. So just trying to get my bearings, and I don't want to go east. I don't want to go to the south. No, I've been to Vancouver, Washington, not Vancouver, Canada. Yeah, I hear Vancouver, British Columbia is beautiful, you know, and there's also a city called Victoria. It's supposed to be really, really pretty. I don't know. So many, so many options. But anyway, I was at Walmart. It's been a while since I've been there, and we used to go, you know, just do groceries and stuff like that when Ritz used to work there. But what was it? I just like to look around and stuff. So I found some really cute socks that were on clearance. There's some underwear that was on clearance. There was some bras that were on clearance, like a buck a bra. There were some tights that were on clearance. So I clearance sectioned out and ended up getting some new socks, workout socks. It's supposed to get up to 65 degrees here come Friday. So needless to say, I was there for like maybe 3 hours or something. And by the time I got to the register, I had 3 bags worth of stuff, you know. And I didn't want to burden Maritza to have to come pick me up. So I started walking back. And it's not that close. It's like 4 miles, maybe 5, not sure. And it's down uphill and then downhill, then uphill a lot. My old man and I are having to find a new place to put our travel trailer. Wow, sounds like something that Derek and Malia are doing too. They're having to move from where they were and move their trailer. That must be a real hassle. Florida. Go to Florida, Lena. I'm not a huge fan of humidity. So, humidity's not my jam. So kind of like the East Coast is full of humidity a lot. But it's great for you to join us, Fifth World. They were coming outside like crazy. Oh my gosh. There was like a plane and then another one came and they were like crisscrossing chemtrail patterns. But I mean, I liked Florida when I lived there. I lived in Fort Lauderdale, but I don't know if I want to go back. Well, for one, that's where Marissa's family's at, so it doesn't really interest me to go there. Idaho might be nice. Whale. I hear Idaho is not really friendly, I guess. I don't know, for lack of a better word. But then it's cold there too, right? I used to love to ski, but I can't ski anymore. I wonder if they're chemtrailing in Canada. That'd be one reason to move there, is because if they don't chemtrail there, the air is probably cleaner. I'm not sure. But anyway, getting back to the Walmart story. So I was walking back and out of the blue, this SUV stops in the middle of the street going the opposite way. And this woman rolls her window down and she's like, "Would you like a ride somewhere?" And I was like, I had like 3 Walmart bags and I was like, yes, I would really, really appreciate that. And so she's like, come on over. So I like quickly crossed the street before the cars were coming and I hopped in her SUV and she had the cutest little boy. He was like maybe 2.5. And he looked like a model. I mean, he had these long locks, he looked like a super cool, cute kid, I was like very taken by him. And she was super sweet. And she was like, where do you need to go? And I was like, oh, I live up by this hill and stuff. She's like, oh, okay. So she knew exactly where it was. And then she just went into, how her husband and her were from the area and that they had moved away, but that they had moved back from Utah, I think it was. So all to say that maybe I'll just stay here. I mean, I love this town and it's a pretty place. This is a very nice Adobe home and rent's relatively inexpensive. I mean, compared to other places on the country, it's like rent here is $750 not terrible. And it's a good size 1-bedroom with a nice kitchen and, you know. Hello, Kim. Salutations. So who knows? Who knows? I mean, because like, okay, as a trans woman, for me, the benefit of being able to have Mexico just 90 minutes away means that I can go across the border, get my hormones, and not have to deal with the insurance companies here. So I don't know. Maybe I will just stay put. Who knows? But I'm gonna try to get everything over into my name because everything's kind of like joint or it's in Maritza's name, you know. So I'm gonna kind of take over as the sole responsible person so that whenever Maritza decides to go, that she doesn't have to be tied to the bills here, or she doesn't have to worry about her credit getting affected or whatever. So it's going to be, it'll be nice, you know. So I'll have full responsibility to pay for everything through the end of the end of the lease, which is in July. So, so I don't know. Still looking at options. I've had some offers from some people to potentially just get away and visit and, you know, kind of start the separation early so that Maritza and I have like that little thing being built where we're doing our own thing in our own lives. So I might be looking at, you know, like say I pay here and then I go and spend time elsewhere. I don't know. Still kind of everything's cool though with Maritza and I. Were, you know, she does her thing. She gets a lot of research done and she's got her 2 shows a week to do. I mean, 2 shows a day to do. So I don't know. And I was thinking about like transitioning my diet to more of a fruit-based diet. So I'm looking at, you know, eating more fruit and not as many grains, I guess, and see how that goes. I was amazed though, because doing the OMAD diet, the 1 meal a day, I didn't really lose any weight. I mean, I lost initially, but I'm still sitting around the same weight that I was. So, and part of that is because when you take estrogen, you know, it's like something that will allow you to keep weight on, you know. So hold on a second. My friend is reaching out to me and she wants to know how my day went. And I'm going to tell her I am on live. Oops, I'm on live on YouTube. So maybe she'll join us. Yeah, the brain does need protein, but there are other sources for protein that I can get it from. And like Maritza said, no one ever died from a lack of protein. So protein is, well, I have a little bit of hesitation with meat and stuff. Well, for one, it kills these poor innocent little lives, But on top of that, my dad died of colorectal cancer, and it was directly tied to his meat consumption. That man would put down a steak and a chicken, rotisserie chicken on the same day, So, yeah, but fish is like full of mercury, especially if you buy Walmart fish. It's coming from China and they don't regulate it. So God only knows what's in it, And, there's all the protein in broccoli. There's lots of protein in lentils. But I think that my vegan diet is gonna stick with me for a while. Because even when I left here, moved to Minnesota, my vegan life was still going. I was still, living. Hold on a second. I'm going to do something to my fruit bowl. Be right back in a second. Presto changeo backo. So I just bought some soy milk at Walmart, and I love vanilla soy milk. I like it better than regular milk, actually. So I'm gonna pour some of this into my cereal. Into my fruit bowl. Right? And I'm going to add some organic, half a cup, because it's late, half a cup of oatmeal to my fruit. Mix it all up. And I got me a yummy, tasty, desserty, breakfasty kind of snack. So, like a cereal bowl. Yum. That's good stuff. Oh yeah. That's good stuff. What makes it is the vanilla and the soy. It makes it like a dessert. Clark Kent. Is that Superman? Oh my goodness. We're graced by Superman. Who knew? Good night, Kim. Thank you for coming on over for a few. So yeah, just looking at options, but I think that here could be a viable option too. So, not quite sure exactly, but I'm not gonna toss this option out because it's a beautiful place. There's lots to see in the area. Like, I was thinking, you've always had a fascination with Superman. Well, I can only imagine why. With the name of Clark Kent, right? You would think I'm doing well. Actually, I'm doing well. Um, it's been a crazy. I'm gonna use my oatmeal as a platform here because I don't like it not being like eye level. Not moving yet, but considering options. Put it that way. You know, considering options. And that's why I did this show, to see if someone has like this fantastic, super cool place. Like, there was a place that I really liked. It was by Mount Hood. No. Oh gosh, what's that? I'm trying to remember. It was a really cool outdoorsy town in Oregon. But I don't know if there's other places that, I visited Telluride one time. Nope, just me. Mark and I are splitting, so we've separated before, but this time it's permanent. We're probably going to go get our dissolution this week. No hard feelings, just not working. And if you followed his channel, he's since you called him Mark, he's no longer going by Mark anymore. So I would encourage you to take a look at his channel or her channel, because that's what's happened. Mark now goes by the name Maritza. So it's okay. I mean, everybody has their journey. It's okay, really. We broke up last year, and it wasn't a really nice separation, but this one's a nice separation because we're more mature now, understanding, yeah. But it's okay. It's okay. We're both ready. When people go different directions, when people go different directions, you have to really look at why people do what they do. So I'm just looking forward to whatever it is that the universe has in store. Whatever it is it has in store, I'm ready. Because I think that there's lots to learn yet, lots to understand. A lot of new surprises and challenges, and so I'm hoping for great things for both of us. She's going to hit the road in her Prius, and she's going to call it Gypsy Blue Nomad. So being one nomad, another nomad decided not to go. Thank you so much. Thank you for your prayers. I appreciate that very much, very much. But we're going to make the best of it. Like, we went to eat breakfast this morning, and we had a good conversation. And I'm looking forward to getting to know people here in this area. I thought things were looking up, by the way, when y'all got back together. Yeah, and it was looking up, but then it wasn't. So we will definitely see a totally different, thing for both of us. You know, we're both going to have different things in our lives, you know. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what takes place, what happens, you know, with all of us and stuff. I'm hoping that I can connect with my kids again, you know. Cross my fingers, you know. But gosh, I will definitely look into her channel to see how she's doing too. Yeah, definitely. She's a lot more active. She does a show. We were starting to do Real Talk with the Cummings every evening at 5:30, and then she had started to do a morning kind of a health blog or something like that, and then it's turned into another show for her. So she does a 9:30 and she does a 5:30. So, and then in between, she's really busy doing research and calling people, talking to people. So, you know, it's what she loves to do. It's what she loves to do. I'm not so much about, you know, the Daily Show and topics and everything. I just, you know, I just share about what's going on and things that might pique my interest that I might want other people to know about, and go from there. One of the things that was really fascinating to me was an article that was talking about how half of Americans think that women should be required by the law to take their husband's name. And I wrote about it and I said, you know, that's like the definition of misogyny, you know, to have to do that. But the article says that a 2017 study published in Gender Issues seeks to understand why 70% of US adults reported in previous research that they believed a married woman should change her name, and half said it should be required by law. Who makes these laws? I don't understand. Why is it so necessary? You know, I just don't see the relevance of it. Despite its archaic origins, the question of whether or not a woman should take her husband's last name remains relevant. Just ask any of your engaged friends. Researchers have found out that more than 70% of US adults believe a woman should change her name, and approximately half felt that doing so should be required by law. A study published in 2017 in Gender Issues seeks to find out why this belief is so persistent. And might I offer maybe it's Christianity? I'm not sure. The most common reason, approximately 50% of the cases given by individuals who advocated women's name change, was the belief that women should prioritize their marriage and their family ahead of themselves. Emily Fitzgibbon Schaefer, a sociology professor at Portland State University, notes in her study, Schaefer was interested in understanding how people perceived women based on their last name choice and whether keeping one's maiden name could cause backlash. More than 1,200 people from a national sample participated in her study. Respondents were introduced in a randomly assigned vignette to the fictional Carol Sherman Carol Sherman Cook or Carol Cook, who is married to Bill Cook. Carol has been spending a lot of extra hours at her office job hoping for a promotion. Bill is starting to feel burdened by her absence as he's picking up her slack in housework. Respondents were then asked to rate how committed they thought Carol was to being a wife and assess what standards they held her to. This was determined by answering how many days Carol's husband should be okay with her working late per week, 0 to 5, and rating how justified he would be in divorcing her. Schaefer notes that her results were surprising. Among women and highly educated men, women's surname choice seems to have little effect on their perceptions of women as a wife or the standards to which she is held in marriage. Low-educated men, however, thought a woman who chose a different last name from her husband was less committed to the marriage and that her husband would be more justified in filing for a divorce for her perceived neglect of marriage as measured through repeated lateness, she writes. It's a reflection of our cultural views that women should put their families ahead of themselves, a view that we don't have for men. It's important to understand how people view marital name choices because those attitudes speak to gender attitudes in general, Schaefer says. So on a larger level, she tells Broadly, the magazine, there's a body of literature that shows that when women act too agentic, which is to say that they act too much like men in the workplace, they act in their own self-interest. If they're not warm, if they're good managers, they face backlash in the workplace context. My work shows that women can face backlash at home as well if they're not acting properly as wives. Moreover, a woman's decision to take on her husband's surname is far more than simply a name change, Schaefer points out. If that were the case, she says, why don't we see even a sizable minority of men changing their names to their wives? We still see that it's the vast majority of women doing it. Clearly, it's a reflection of our cultural views that women should put their families ahead of themselves, a view that they don't have for men. When asked what it's going to take for women to be able to make their own choice, whether they have to do with surnames, reproductive rights, or what have you, without fear of backlash, Schaefer says her pessimistic answer is dismantling the patriarchy. Until then, there's a great work that points to when it's economically beneficial to women to do things, then people start to accept it. She continues, most people accept that women can both work and be a good mom at the same time. That's because the vast majority of women already do it. Now, maybe it takes a certain amount of women to do a certain act before people start to accept it. If more women simply kept their last names when they got married, people would see it as normalized. It didn't mention Christianity, but, that whole leave and cleave and the concepts that Christianity teaches and, that I personally find real issues with because, when Paul says in the New Testament that women should be silent, when modern day denominations still are not allowing for women to preach. It's just really, it's very patriarchal, that type of line of thought. Because I think men should be responsible as to the home. Women should be responsible to the home. It's not just a woman's job, it's like men are just relegated to go out, get the bone, bring the bone back, and feed the family. And I don't think that really works in today's society. I think there needs to be more of a meshing of the two, I don't know. That's just my opinion. But Who am I, right? That's good stuff. Good stuff. Very good stuff. So there's this other article, and it's called Today's Problem with Masculinity Isn't What You Think. And it's from 2018, but it's the perspective of a former soldier that explains the emotional vacancy of the fatherless generation. And unfortunately, my kids are in that category of being a fatherless generation. Men are so quick to blame the gods. They say that we devised their misery, but they themselves, in their depravity, design grief greater than the griefs that fate assigns. Homer, the Odyssey. I don't have the group picture from the day my dad visited my fraternity house at Oklahoma State University. It was awkward compared to the Mom's Day photo we would snap a few months later. Not that it's awkward to take pictures with my dad. We're all smiles. But the Dad's Day photo, which hung above my fraternity brother's desk, along with a compilation of date party video photos, looked anything but natural. Each year, the university invites parents to spend a day with their kids. Most of us eat at one of the iconic Eskimo Joe restaurants, tailgate, and then head to a football game. Afterward, it's off to the bars or whatever late night event your parent can muster the energy for. Outside fraternity and sorority houses, you'll find co-eds posing for group photos with dear old mom or dad. The photos with the moms always turn out great. There we are, hugging mom, kissing her face. Everyone's laughing and appears to be having a great time. If your mom made it out to the bar for a drink like mine did, you'd introduce her to the girl you were interested in while acting part of the perfect gentleman. Then you'd meet the mother of the said girl, and your moms would screech about what a cute couple the two of you would make. Can you find me? They have this picture of themselves hugging their mom or something like that. Just like totally embracing the mom. I'm hugging my mom. Dads were different, like Saturn versus Earth different. The group photos always seemed cold. There was some hugs happening, but they were those weird like side hugs that Christians seem so fond of giving one another. They keep some room for the Holy Spirit variety. Everyone looks like a stoic philosopher. The smiles seem somewhat forced. When the dads came to the bar, they either became Frank the Tank or scanned the room like the Terminator. Most guys never introduced their dad to the girl they were interested in, either. Unlike my mom, my dad and I grabbed dinner and caught up before he had to leave. He had work the next day. I've long wondered why the two photos turned out so opposite. Why did we suddenly look like mama's boys when we so often tried to be the man? Why such a lack of intimacy with our fathers and even our friends when we seem to be okay with it from our mothers? Well, where'd you learn to be a man? The memory of Dad's Day picture has been nagging me, so I start questioning other men and my friends. At first, my question was too complex. Who did you learn emotional intimacy from? Or do you feel you have any intimacy with male friends? Some guys laughed. Others stared and responded with something like, "What the F does that mean?" So I changed my question. Did your dad ever teach you how to be a man? The responses I received range from learning how to change a tire or oil in a car or learning how to tie a tie. This made me think, if this is what qualifies as masculinity, we are in deep doo-doo. So I dug further. Did your dad ever talk to you about the mistakes he made in life? Was he vulnerable? Did he teach you how to date or romance a woman? How to pick healthy friends? Did he talk about sex, porn, or masturbation? It's fascinating that in Judeo-Christian literature, there's an entire book of the Bible dedicated to teaching a son about money, friends, sex, adultery, making wise decisions, marriage, and business. The book is Proverbs, in case you're wondering. But in America, the resounding answer I heard from men was, no, my dad never talked about these things. If a father did talk about those issues, then it was usually one of those, this is how sex works, good talk moments. But because we live in what I call a fatherless generation, dad wasn't often in the picture to begin with. So where did we learn to become men? The influence of the alpha male. Most everyone who's read Lord of the Flies remembers how a group of boys descend into barbarity and can easily recall the moment where Piggy gets his brain smashed in. For most boys growing up these days isn't all that dissimilar, with no one teaching young men virtue, character, or responsibility. The alpha male emerges thinking he has some semblance of how the world works, and so the other boys follow his lead. Sometimes the alpha male lands that leadership position because he's mimicking problematic behavior that's been demonstrated by a crappy father figure at home, which is his friends may consider cool, since they don't have positive male representation around them. Dad shows him porn, so he shows it to his friends, who then learn early on how to objectify women. Dad talks about sports all the time and can tell you where every player on the Patriots played junior varsity football. So his alpha son gets his friends into sports and berates them for not having an encyclopedic knowledge. Dad talks about women with misogynistic overtones, so he and his friends mimic him and begin to talk that way too. Dad reminds his son that real men don't cry, real men act tough all the time, real men get angry when insulted, real men would never show their emotions. It doesn't all come down to just one alpha's influence, though. Many of these behaviors and ideas, they permeate young boys' minds through things they've seen or heard in media and online. But we don't run in packs anymore. We prefer to lone wolf it. Or if we do run in a pack, we never display weakness for fear we'll be turned on and devoured. It's a lonely world when you don't have friends you can have deep conversations with. It's much more common to find yourself in male friendships where you can't express your angst or pain without fear of being labeled, well, a pussycat, right? There's no camaraderie. Aside from guys you grab drinks with after work or go to a sporting event with, the extent of your relationship is, for the most part, superficial. When you don't know how to manage your emotions, you won't know how to handle rejection, dating, fear, loneliness, or sadness, let alone anything else. Virtues like character, loyalty, love, humility, courage, and vulnerability are replaced with vices like anger, like jealousy, like vanity, and pride. While men desperately crave emotional intimacy with other men, some have built up calluses so tough that even the notion of deep connection is considered effeminate. Instead, men lash out with deadly violence and dive headfirst into asynchronistic digital intimacy as opposed to real relationships. Getting bombed in Austin, and the porn patch topic goes, every man can tell how many goats or sheep he possesses, but not how many friends. Marcus Tullius Cicero. When the package bombings that rocked Austin, Texas, made the news last March, friends called to check and see if I was anywhere near the explosions. Once they learned I was fine, they asked if the bombings carried the markings of someone with military expertise due to my combat experience. All around Austin, fear ran rampant as rumors were passed as fact. Neighbors informed me that our area of town should expect to be hit next. I laughed at their misinformed panic, fueled by the fact that we love to believe what we want to hear, provided it lines up with what we already assume. When I explained that the Austin bombings were carried the mark of an amateur who probably learned from YouTube, the dark web, or a jihadi website, people then asked about motive. While everyone still seems to be searching for it, since bomber Mark Anthony Condit's confession video didn't offer any definitive explanation, I think it's right in front of our faces. The statement made about Condit's confession video by Austin Police Chief Brian Maloney explained that this was the outcry of a very challenged young man talking about challenges in his personal life that led him to this point. Oh, hello, Patricia. Thank you so much for coming on over to my slumber party, I guess. Women are now seen as disgusting, empty, useless souls by the MGTOW movement. It is very disturbing. I am absolutely appalled by that, Patricia. And I think that the mother-father is changing that. And I personally think that there's going to be an awakening of the feminine in people. And it's not going to, make people change their gender if they're male, but it's going to give people more compassion, more empathy. It's going to make people behave in a more nurturing manner, to take care of our society, to take care of our planet, to take care of each other, People were caught up in semantics after Manley's statement, wanting to know whether the bomber was a terrorist or whether his motive was racially based, since two of the victims were prominent members of Austin's Black community. I think the more simple truth is, like other men in our generation, Condit was lonely, isolated, and bought into the view that men express anger and hurt through violence. As I stated, the author says in another piece, we're dealing with a generation that no longer has the skills necessary to cope with hardship and adversity. People are chronically lonely, even though they are more connected now than ever in this digital age. Notice there are 0 media reports in which they interview Condit's friends or past girlfriends even. The only people in the interviews are old acquaintances from school or church. And don't hold up the penalty card as if his dad provided sufficient care because he was raised in a religious home. Many times, religious homes can be the most emotionally vacant place for a young man. Austin bomber Mark Anthony Condit, one thing I feel would confirm my suspicions about the Austin bomber is whether he regularly consumed porn. Hear me out. Since we have no reports on friends or past girlfriends, one thing most lonely men do is watch porn. Just get on 4chan or a similar site, and the chatter often revolves around porn, while simultaneously making fun of themselves for living in their parents' basements. It's an easy patch for the lack of emotional intimacy they crave with a real human. Can't get a date? There's porn for that. Don't know how to talk to a woman? There's porn for that. Get rejected when you ask a girl out? There's porn for that. In my line of work, I counsel a lot of young men through porn addiction. They always come in thinking porn is the issue, but it's always symptomatic of something much deeper. Out of each man I've counseled, I've discovered that they all lacked emotional intimacy. Consider this excerpt from Dr. Joshua Straub's book, Safe House. A team of researchers at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine set out on a 30-year study to find if a single related cause existed for 5 major issues: mental illness, hypertension, malignant tumors, coronary heart disease, and suicide. After studying 1,377 students over 30 years, the most prevalent single cause wasn't what everyone thought. They found that the most significant predictor of these tragedies was a lack of closeness to who? The parents, especially the father. That's very telling. Patricia says, there is an Orthodox church I can see from my bed. It has a golden upright penis on top of a dome with a cross on top. I'm telling you, Abrahamic faiths worship the phallus. Whether they want to cover it up, make it look nice, call themselves a Christian church, it doesn't matter. Late one evening, I stumbled out of a dusty building like a drunk pirate, not quite used to walking on land. My head was spinning from the news that I just received. I wanted to vomit and scream all at the same time. The Iraqi base I was stationed at in the middle of Ramadi remained still while the whirl of generators filled the night. My shuffling added to the noise. Taking another step, I collapsed into the dirt and wept until my tears formed mud on my hands and face. It would be my friend Greg who would find the shell of a man lying on the ground with a muddy, tear-streaked face. She's leaving. She's leaving. God, she's really leaving, is all I managed to get out while sobs racked my body. 30 minutes ago, I'd given the devastating news about the end of my relationships back home. Iraq was a hard enough place to deal with anyway, but now the person that you loved is now gone. And that's what they were saying. Greg leaned me against his barrel-shaped chest and hugged me while I cried. What he said that night made all the difference. You are not alone, and we will all get through this together. Many view the military as the epitome or last great bastion of masculinity. Even English writer Samuel Johnson once remarked, every man thinks clearly of himself for not having been a soldier or not having been at sea. Each time men learn I serve in the military and in combat, I often hear similar sentiments. I wanted to enlist, but have a medical condition. Parents wanted me to go to college, insert reason here. Well, many men, but not all, see the military as a mark of masculinity. What they fail to recognize or acknowledge is the deep and emotional bonding that occurs amongst soldiers. Instead, they paint us solely as warriors and never poets with deep feelings. Of the men I served with, I can tell you about their life stories, their fears, their victories, their relationships, and struggles. We cried, hugged, laughed, and shared some of our most deepest secrets with one another. Well, post-traumatic stress disorder gets lobbed around like a grenade in a China store as an explanation for why soldiers are killing themselves at an endemic rate. I believe the answer is much simpler. We're only lonely and lack the emotional intimacy to the toxic view that men should stifle their emotions, due in large part to the relationships we foster and their possession of a so-called effeminate side. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. Plato, The Republic. As a child, I jumped off houses, trying to mimic Superman, microwaved spiders in an attempt to transform Spider-Man. Every stick was a sword, apples became grenades, crackers were carefully bitten into the shape of guns as my brother and I carried out invisible cracker wars with our snacks. But I also drew and loved art. I sang in a choir. I played with Barbies. I wrote poetry and stories. Wow. There is currently a two-pronged assault on young boys. We view roughhousing, playing with toy swords, and fake war as a sign that our boys will become psychopaths because of recent events. Crazy stuff. Men falsely believe sensitivity and visible displays of emotions are signs of weakness, and they're not. This leaves a lot of young men growing up confused. We don't engage in the healthy types of play we need to bond. We don't get the emotional connection we need from the fathers or men. This leaves men apathetic and indifferent when they feel they can be neither, and thus retreat into our digital worlds of lethargy. Today, many good men sit on the sidelines while evil continues to infect the masculine soul like a cancer. We're not teaching young men with virtue or character, but vice. We are telling them that they need to tamp down their feelings, but also don't be masculine, because that's bad. The internal warrior gets crushed and the poet is labeled a sissy. I'm not sure what the answer is to all of this, writes the person who did the article. But I know it begins with strong male figures fathering other men. It will take men of integrity who want to change our culture from within, not those who scream from their social media soapbox. Any change that happens will be built on the backs of one-on-one mentoring between men of character and the pupils lost and adrift in today's culture. It will take men of honor And it will take courage in a world that promotes vice. Only then can we create warrior poets. Hi, Speezy. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, it's really crazy, you know. Well, it's 10 o'clock here. I think I'm going to wrap it up. But thanks, you guys, for coming over and listening to my lived experience and what's going on. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. I know I'm going to get some great rest because I am tired today. So until we see each other again later this week sometime, thank you guys. Love you. Bye. Now, midnight here? Oh, wow, it's midnight, Patricia. Yeah, if you ever want to reach out, please email me, Patricia, at my account, and I will definitely want to talk to you. You need support. Good night. Thank you, and good night, all of you. Have a great night.